So, how long has Student Voices Count been around? I mean, has it been an active organization, or was it kind of born out of this whole fiasco of the ticketing for the GOP debate?
Yeah, Student Voices Count was, I think, created around the end of September. So it was about, I think, the 23rd of September. So it's really been a pretty recent thing. It kind of erupted as an immediate response to the ticketing issue, but since then has really evolved to represent a lot more than that.
So, how did it start? I mean, was it just you and a couple people figured this is something that needs to happen? Were there any faculty or administrators involved, or outside entities or activists involved in this?
Yeah, so I'm actually not one of the founding members. I was brought in about the first weekend, so the Sunday after it was created. So I think it was created on a Wednesday, and then that following Sunday is when I heard about everything. And I got invited by William Rayleigh, who put me in touch with everybody. So it was originally created from a couple of students that were actually more interested in doing some sort of a protest to the debate being here on campus. And as it started to grow on the Facebook event, some of the other people involved, some of those original event organizers' friends, started to see that it could really be an opportunity to do something more than just that. And that was when those founders really had the idea to make it this nonpartisan, positive movement that stands for something that's a lot more hopeful, a lot more inspirational than what would just have been a protest. So that was kind of the switch from protest to movement, was when we realized, when the founders realized that it really had a chance to grow into something big. And then some of those folks got me involved pretty shortly thereafter, and I was really excited about it, and really just felt like it was something that was sort of meant to happen, that I was meant to get involved with. And ever since then, I've just put 150% into it, and it's been really exciting to see where it's gone.
So when you guys have been working since the end of September, I mean, what's been I guess the amount of work done between you guys and other groups? I mean, you were down there with Progress Now Colorado today, who just put in their petition for more student tickets. So has there been a lot of collaboration or cooperation between you and other activist groups in the area?
There hasn't really. It's been primarily us, and reaching out to other different organizations. We have reached out to certain nonprofits, 501c3s, for statements of support, such as the Free and Equal Foundation. Christina Tobin, their founder and chair, came out in support of us by authoring a letter, and we have also gotten some support from the local counties parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, and from Congressman Polis as well. So really the event that happened today with Progress Now was sort of a serendipitous thing that we just found out about earlier this week. So they did really all the heavy lifting on that. Their petition calls for 50% of the tickets that are available to the debate to be given to students, which we decided was similar enough to our goal, which is the additional 800 tickets, so that CU affiliates and non-CU affiliates have the same number of tickets at 900 apiece. So we figured that in this particular instance, even though Progress Now Colorado is not a nonpartisan organization, their goals and their objectives in this petition align with what Student Voices Count cares about. So that's why we chose to collaborate and join in on their press conference today.
So talk about that nonpartisan piece a little bit. I think it's pretty interesting considering the fact that this isn't necessarily a general debate, it's GOP specific. So how important is it to have this kind of nonpartisan aspect so it shows that there isn't necessarily an agenda behind trying to possibly slander the GOP or anything like that?
Definitely, it's extraordinarily important, and it's been a battle the entire time to convince people that are outside of the movement that that's really what our true intentions are. It's very important, though, to maintain that nonpartisanship, and that's what sets us apart, what sets Student Voices Count apart from all the other political organizations that exist today, is that in this country we are less of one nation and more of two parties right now. And as Student Voices Count really saw a lot of success in its nonpartisan message, we've really honed in on that, as that's something that we want to advocate for. So with liberals and conservatives involved in our group, involved in our kind of core team that's really active, we have this whole wide spectrum of perspectives represented. So for liberals, for them it's an opportunity, they feel, where if the GOP and these conservative politicians are coming here to Boulder, which is, of course, as everyone knows, a generally liberal place, there's a great opportunity involved where it's not a mistake for conservatives to come to a liberal area or for or for vice versa, it's really an opportunity to show the nation when everyone's watching that if we can show in this micro example that the liberals and conservatives can receive each other respectfully, can respect each other's opinions, acknowledge the differences, but still do that in a way that's positive and not partisan bickering, then it really shows, it can show the country that that's something that's still possible, and that if we stand up and expect that, then we can really change the status quo and demand it from our elected officials across the country. Now, from the conservative side, there's also a frustration where, some of our conservative members, they of course, they're Republicans, members of the Republican Party, and they feel like their own party is coming here, and they're not even making an effort to engage with them. There's no effort by the GOP to reach out to the millennials, to the students, and so they feel like their party's somewhat turned its back on them, and I think that contributes to the feeling of general political disenfranchisement from millennials. And that's what's really given us success, is that millennials aren't interested in partisan bickering, and they're not turned on by negative ads. The negative partisan attack ads really only get people that already agree with you to come out and support you, right? And when those things are based off of hate and frustration and anger or people's fear, then it's not really a sustainable way to build a movement or to motivate people to be civically active in the country. And so that's why Student Voices Count wants to make sure that everything we do is about hope, is about inspiration, is about nonpartisanship, and is about reminding people that we are one nation and not two parties. And so that's really been our focus, and I think what has made our message successful in reaching out to people, and it's really I think the first step that the political establishment in this country needs to recognize, that if they're going to engage now the largest generation, that the traditional methods that they're using aren't going to work. And we're going to be voting for the next half a century, so it's absolutely important that students now, in their first presidential election for many of them, that they'll be voting, that they realize now that when just ordinary citizens, ordinary young people band together and stand for a cause that they believe in, when they put their time and their passion and their energy into it, then they can really affect positive change. And that kind of transformative experience with politics is what turns apathetic people into engaged, informed citizens, and that's what we need in this country more than anything.
So you mentioned political disenfranchisement from some members of the so-called millennial generation. Do you think that this debate, not just from the GOP side, but also from the CNBC side, kind of highlights that disconnect that is occurring right now between big media, big government, and a new generation that is much more, that desires a lot more to be involved in the political process?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that the sheer fact that CU, the RNC, and CNBC back over the summer, when they were coming together and putting together this contract, making these decisions, the fact that they thought that it was a good idea to only give 50 tickets at the time to be shared amongst the 30,000 undergraduate CU students, the staff, the administration, the faculty, really just reflects the fact that they are very much out of touch with our generation and with the millennials. The fact that they would think that nobody would be upset about that would just go on without a hitch and that everyone would accept it, I think really reflects that there is a massive disconnect between the political old guard and the youth, the millennial generation, and just a lot of voters in general. I don't think that if you talk to most people in this country, I don't think you get a lot of people arguing against the idea that they are tired of the negative partisanship and the bickering and the attacking each other. I mean, Congress has its lowest approval rating just last year in history, and it has that for a reason, right? If only 9% of the country thinks that our elected officials are doing a good job, then they're obviously doing something wrong.
So if you talk to anybody in TV, really, the answer that they will give, they're obviously not going to say it out loud in an official statement, is the big reason why someone would probably try to cap the number of tickets would be to avoid any pre-planned disruptions of the event. Mm-hmm. And while it is an unfortunate statement to kind of lump the few in with the potentially many, it is still a very big concern for what is probably going to be one of CNBC's bigger cable programs that they're going to run this year. So with that in mind, I mean, why why still go with that push for tickets for not just the select few, but for all, and run the risk of a potential disruption by somebody in the crowd?
Well, I think it really comes down to some of the foundations and intentions of American democracy as a whole. What you just said with the select few, we have, or we're supposed to have in this country, a universal electorate, not a selectorate, right? And so the way that the administration, first of all, is handling the ticketing issue by deciding arbitrarily which departments and which majors are the most relevant to this particular debate, in itself implies that other students and other majors are somehow not relevant to the political process and shouldn't be included in this American democracy, which I think many people, upon contemplation, would have a bit of a problem with that proposition. And so that in itself is an issue. But then returning to CNBC's argument, it's a disappointment, I think, to a lot of people. This rise that we have, particularly in the 2016 presidential election, of political theater and the increasing intersectionality between entertainment and politics, where it's harder and harder to really get the issues out from the entertainment and the lack of substance side. So yes, there could be a risk for CNBC to accept more students, to open it up to more people, but simply assuming the negative, assuming that all the students, their only interest is disruption, is insulting to students. It only perpetuates this idea that young people are politically apathetic and are not going to engage and don't have a place in the country's political process, which is insulting and wrong, frankly. So yeah, it does require them to take a small bit of a risk, but to take that small risk for the purpose of greater inclusion and really representing what American democracy is supposed to be about, I don't think is something that anyone would fault CNBC for, that anyone would do anything besides admire on CNBC's side for their courage to do something that the other networks so far have not done, and to really take a stand to change the status quo of how a lot of these presidential debates are run, to really give people an opportunity to participate. And it just goes to show that, taking a risk for the possibility of something better, this greater inclusion of people in the American democratic process, and really widening that electorate. That was, the risk has been involved in American democracy from the very beginning, and I think it's just an opportunity for CNBC to really show that when the entire country is craving a change, when the country is so sick of political theater and ordinary citizens not getting a voice, that they could actually change that. And I think, if anything, they would only receive laudations from the vast majority of the country.
So obviously there is a desire to kind of, what you mentioned, to be greater inclusion, to have people that are able to sit in on this debate, but it's not necessarily that the broadcast itself is being shut down. People are still going to be a part of it in some way, of being able to watch that debate itself. And what people will say, what members of CNBC and CU have said, is that this event really is made for TV. It's not necessarily a town hall meeting. So is having people being able to sit in that debate all that much more important than having them just be able to watch it on their television?
Absolutely, and no one is confusing the fact that this is not a town hall. No one, when asking for greater student tickets, is expecting that the students are going to be able to ask the candidates questions or stand up and cheer or boo or anything like that. The students, they understand what this debate is and how a televised debate works. It's not that complicated. But what it is when you have these political elites and these national politicians and the media and all of the contacts in the Republican National Committee that are actually going to be filling those seats, the high-level administration folks, and then you have a closed door, and you have security, and you have locks, and you have a shutting out of everyone else. Especially with being on campus, when it's a student's campus, and it's this opportunity for for young people to have a political experience that energizes them and really turns them on to participating in politics for the rest of their lives, it's just a poor decision, and it's a missed opportunity on CNBC's part, on CU's part, and on the RNC's part. I just find the entire concept of of this exclusion of the fact that there is going to be that locked door between the campus community and the debate just damaging to the psyche of the students, to the foundations of what our country is supposed to be about and how our elections are really supposed to work.
So what's the future of Student Voices Count? I mean, it was kind of started in the wake of this, but now that there has been some significant attention from national media, from local media, and kind of beyond, even into students, there is a chance for this to become possibly something a little bit greater. Is there, or have there been conversations between kind of leading members as to what the next direction of this will be once the GOP leaves Boulder?
Absolutely. Now, we are very focused, of course, on getting everything off the ground, getting the next 6 days to go well, getting our broadcast and everything to go well. But even the fact that we're having a broadcast, that we're not just simply planning a protest, that we're not planning some sort of demonstration, it reflects the intention of folks in Student Voices Count to really engage the country and engage the nation. So what we want to do now is really direct the national conversation about this. And since we found that our positive message of nonpartisan hope and student optimism for what young people believe that the future could hold, right? That's a really powerful thing, hope and just people's idealism for how things can always get better. We want to share that with the country. And so that's, of course, what we're planning to do with the broadcast by partnering with Be Heard, their nonprofit, millennial-run, unaffiliated news network. They're really letting us reach out and stream to YouTube and hopefully engage a ton of people. We're also going to be working with the Free Speech Television, which is another nonprofit media network that'll help us get that greater reach. So immediately what we want to do is really drive the national conversation and set an example for the country about how things can be different. Beyond that, we've certainly been thinking about working with folks at the University of Houston, because actually one of the later GOP debates is going to be coming to the University of Houston, and some of our members are from Houston in that area. So that's going to be, I believe, the last debate right before Super Tuesday. And of course, if you look at the news, there's a lot of students at the University of Houston that are excited now, that can't wait to get tickets, that can't wait to go watch the debate and to see that and to have that powerful experience. And well, we're just hoping we don't have to break the news that they're probably not going to be involved. And so if that's how it ends up going for the University of Houston, we're certainly looking into working with them, helping them also advocate for themselves and trying to transmute some of this movement over to their campus. And beyond that, I think we'll just have to wait and see how the country responds to our broadcast, to our message, and what the next opportunities are once we get there.
Very quickly, is there a call to action that you guys have within these next 6 days as far as the events and things that you guys are pushing?
Absolutely. We would love for people, first of all, just to share our website, studentvoicescount.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Student Voices CU. You find our 2 events on Facebook. We have one event, which is the broadcast, and of course then the community page where people can just join in for updates. So we'd really like to see our petition break 1,000 signatures in the next 6 days. We're just around 800 right now. That's on change.org, and you can find links to that through our Facebook pages and on our website, studentvoicescount.com. We'd really love to see people share that petition, help us break 1,000 signatures, and then come out and participate and really engage in the civic process, engage in the American democracy on October 28th. We're going to be starting at 3, just in front of the University Club with our pre-show, where we'll have a panel of all students, some journalists, some Student Voices Count advocates, and we'll kind of talk about the process and reflect on everything that's happened since then. Then we're going to move into the main show from 4 to 5:30, and we'll be bringing in loads of political guests, folks that are really involved in this, all the way from the representatives from the local county parties to sitting national congressmen. So there's a real opportunity there to actually engage, and we're going to be putting mics and cameras in the audience and actually letting you and people, whoever is there, to ask questions and really drive the conversation with those political leaders. So it's a real chance for students and young people and whoever else wants to attend to actually engage in the political process in a meaningful way and to have that sort of experience that the administration promised but did not deliver on.